So listen, I've tried Jet Set Radio, okay? And I'm certainly no Jet Set hater. The game is brimming with charm and passion. You don't even have to play it for it to leave a mark on you. Just absorbing the aesthetic is enough. The characters are cool as hell, the art is fantastic, and the music makes me... But I don't think I'd have ever touched it if it wasn't recommended to me by a good friend. I really want to enjoy the game, but it's almost impossible when every character feels like a fridge ratchet strapped to a jet ski. At least until it's time to jump. Then it's like I'm on the fucking moon. Now I am being a little dramatic. Theoretically, it's entirely possible to master the controls. But I'm just trying to beat the game, and I chose to play as this fat ass's stupid boombox. And he's such a sack of bricks, he can't build up any speed. It's like I hate him. I hate this game! Everything else radiates pure love of the craft, so it's too bad the gameplay makes you want to eat a load. Some of my favorite games have tons of friction between myself and the goals I want to achieve, whether it's designed that way intentionally or a consequence of its jank.
I love me some milkweed.
But when my goal is to get into the flow, do crazy combos, and be the raddest skater of all time, then the greatest source of friction cannot be the player character. That'd be like if I was playing Sekiro, and I press the parry button, then he drops his sword and looks at the camera all, Butterfingers. Making this review, I found myself stuck with a pretty big problem. Jet Set Radio is basically the only skating game I've played in my life, other than the 360 demo of Underground 2 when I was 7. That game's cool. He takes a Make-A-Wish kid to meet Tony Hawk, and Tony touches him on the forehead and restores him to perfect health. Then later, when you're on the run from the cops, you betray Tony for $4 and he gets nailed to a cross. My point is, Bomb Rush Cyberfunk wasn't inspired by Jet Set Radio.
Among those Jet Set Radio Future, I hadn't played the original one or hadn't heard of the original one on the Dreamcast until much later. Didn't know there was one before it.
Well, fuck! I've never played Future in my life, and I probably never will. Curbing my constant urge to compare this game to JSR sucks, but it feels unfair to compare a new game to one the developer wasn't remotely influenced by. So let's do it anyway. No matter how I hack it, this video is going to be very personal, so I think it'd be better, and more entertaining, if I laid bare all my biases and the lens through which I'm going to be viewing Bomb Rush. So here it is. Jet Set walks so Bomb Rush could run, and Bomb Rush is running like Kunta Kinte got out of his giraffe harness at the mall. Before the game has even started, our character has been incarcerated for gang-related violence. This ain't no kids game, we're hard up. There's a prison break, and this dude with pigtails strolls up to our cell and calls us pretty boy before busting us out. He introduces himself as Trice, which I think is how you pronounce it. Early in development, his name was supposed to be Buster, which would have ruled, honestly. Our guy tells him to call us foe, and Trice acts like we're some hot shit before leading us through a short tutorial section. We don't even have our skates yet, and this game controls as smooth as butter. Together we tear up the police station, leaving our tag for the Bomb Rush crew before breaking out into a courtyard. We carve up the wall in time for the opposition to realize young people are having fun outside, and immediately send 5 guys to kick our ass. Yeah, this skating game has combat. It definitely has some issues, but I'm not going to get into it here. We kick the cops' teeth in like they're trying to stop us from jacking it in the bar and grill, and the remaining agent of Babylon takes off and leaves us to it. Maybe it was her lunch break. Trice cracks open the door and has a word with us.
Let's go!
With our partnership secured, we take off up the stairs and find the reason we were able to escape so easily. But we breeze right the fuck past him and follow Trice off the roof. Yeah, you thought we were dead, didn't you? Instead, we wake up slumped over at Trice's place, and he introduces us to Belle. She seems to be the fan favorite for reasons I can't quite discern. Oh, we're a robot now? Belle talks about it like we got a prosthetic limb or something, as if the source of our personhood isn't rotting in a gutter somewhere. She walks us through some more basic tutorial stuff, And as soon as the game let me off the hook, I did nothing but mess around the starting area, doing insane tricks and being a public nuisance for 20 minutes. I knew this game ruled the minute I realized you could grind upside down. Tools in your arsenal include a jetpack, which lets you sail down the railings and quickly clear ground. You can recharge your boost by doing tricks, since it runs on unadulterated radicalness. The characters are so much more nimble than in Jet Set. You can actually turn and land where you want to. You can even go on foot, which is much slower than skating, but gives you way more control. Make no mistake, this shit rules, but I do have a problem with it. In Jet Set Radio, the characters were super heavy, and there was always a concern of losing your momentum while grinding or because you bumped into an obstacle. And the only way to save yourself from slowly grinding to a halt is to jump occasionally while you still have decent speed, preserving your momentum. But if you didn't manage your grind well enough, you'd be in this situation where you'd be so slow you couldn't jump far enough to clear the magnetic field. And this is in an arcade game where you're on the clock and you need those precious seconds to beat the level. It was really fucking annoying. This never happens in Bomb Rush. Not because the player has been given tools to better control their character's momentum, but because you always have momentum from the minute you start moving. You can step onto a rail like you're testing the limits of a minefield and you'll take off. Yeah, I don't have to deal with the bullshit anymore, but the movement is a little shallower as a result. I know this game isn't pro skater, and I wouldn't want it to be anyway, but the lack of any sort of punishment for not managing your grind makes mechanics like the boost pack a lot less useful. It could have been a great way of preserving your speed by timing your boosts while grinding. It would have incentivized doing tricks and getting high combos outside of beating certain missions or because it feels cool. Because for 90% of gameplay, that shit doesn't matter. But my biggest problem with the boost pack is none of the speed you gain during a boost carries over when the boost stops. Your character slows right back down to their regular speed and it feels like shit. Maybe they could have extended the time it takes to slow down by another second or two, so it feels less like I'm grinding right back down to a lower gear. And I don't mean to complain too much, because other than that, the boost pack rules. I love the way it controls when you're boosting, like you're guiding a rocket. Hitting corners feels badass. It just seems underutilized and a little underdeveloped. The trick system is stupid simplistic, but that's not a bad thing. In an interview with the game director Dion Coster, he talks about shying away from the simulation aspects of a lot of skating games in favor of making the gameplay more accessible and fluid. And I respect that. I think the trick system works fine the way it is. When you're actually going for points and not just styling around the open world, you really want to pay attention to what tricks you do and when you do them, since leaning into corners grants you a points multiplier for every corner you hit, and you can't lean if you're doing a trick. It's also got a decent amount of variation, with unique sets of tricks based on whether you're jumping, grinding, or skating. Once we're done jumping up and getting down, Trice tells us to start tagging shit since the hideout is looking a little bare. This game's graffiti is great. Most of it is in the same vein as the tags in Jet Set, except a lot hornier this time around. And this is a problem because I'm Gen Z, which means I'm neurotic and I hate sex. But it's all really cool stuff, and there's so much of it. The artist did such a good job of taking that classic Jet Set style and molding it into something their own. Look at all this shit. Shit rules.
I hate it!
There's no equipping graffiti in this game either. Instead, you have access to all your unlocked graffiti all the time, and you input the corresponding pattern to paint a particular tag. It's elegant as shit, and one of those things that seems so obvious, but no one had managed to come up with until now. Trice takes us aside for one last talk. He tells us he's planning to go all city, conquering every borough and kicking in the teeth of every last gangbanger who dares oppose the Bomb Rush crew. And I gotta ask, does my dick still work? I mean, now that I have a robot brain, can I still get hard? Do I have the firmware for that? He thinks tracking down our old head and putting it back on our body is the key to becoming all city, since our body belonged to some kind of badass graffitist who already agreed to go to war with him. Bell is naturally skeptical since, our head was chopped off. They don't usually work after that. But nope, we were decapitated by the infamous DJ Cyber, who has a thing for heads actually. Big Red here is too curious to know whose ass crack he's scratching, so he agrees to stick with the BRC. And we're off to our first gang conflict with some small timers called the Franks. Apparently they're all mixed, so we better be careful not to get into any arguments about who's allowed to say a certain 6-letter word. Zombie. Like Frankenstein. This is our first open range level, where we're free to grind around wherever we please. It's still technically a tutorial, but things are much more hands-off. We're learning the advanced shit now. We grind down the street a little and run into a bunch of these guys. These dudes are great. Each level has a few sets of them hanging around. If you hit a full set in a single combo, you unlock a secret area. You'll usually find some cool shit like graffiti, an outfit, or even an individual song you can play anytime from your phone. Actually, I think this would be as good a time as any to talk about the music. Whenever Jet Set Radio is brought up in conversation, people can't shut up about the soundtrack. And you know why. It fucks! It's all anyone remembers about that game. That shit's great. Cyberfunk's soundtrack has been decent so far, but I haven't yet been blown away like I was when I booted up Jet Set Radio for the first time and I heard this.
Jet Set Radio!
So, first level. It's finally time for you to get out there and tear up the city with your unmatched skating skills. What song hypes you up to be the most radical king of the street? Come on, I'm trying to shred, not get molested by Stephen Hawking. There's some incredible shit on this soundtrack. They even got songs by the man himself, Hideki Naganuma, who did basically all the best songs in Jet Set Radio. But compared to Jet Set, the number of songs that piss me off has increased by at least 50%. It's not like I have high standards. My favorite album sounds like this.
Mister, would you please hold my pony? He's over there.
Yeah, and I liked it so much. Bought it on vinyl. Cost me like $75. I don't even have a record player. When it came to picking the music, the devs went out of their way to license pre-existing songs for the game instead of having a soundtrack specifically composed for it. And that's fine. Tons of games do that, and a lot of them sound really good. But Bomb Rush's issue with a lot of these picks is they don't complement the gameplay well. And this isn't much of a criticism since it comes down to personal taste, but a lot of these songs kinda suck dick. Hey, I know that sound. Custer talked about being inspired by dance music and wanting to transcribe that vibe into Bomb Rush, which sounds awesome for a game about skating and doing tricks. But only around half the soundtrack ever came close to that for me. I don't like to think of myself as a snob, and I'm certainly not a musician. So forgive me if I come off like I think I'm the real hip-hop aficionado, and the developers are a bunch of posers with shit taste. Because that's obviously not true. Look at the game they made. And any soundtrack with this guy on it has to kick ass by default. This level isn't bad, but personally, I find it to be the weakest of the bunch. The worst levels in Jet Set Radio are the ones with too much open ground, sometimes killing your streak because you landed in a bad spot, you have to cross the street or through an alley just to get to the next guardrail. There is a solution to this in the form of manualing, which the game also teaches you in this level, but it feels more like a compromise. Like, rather than designing verseums so there's several interesting routes to take and potential for doing cool shit, they were all, here's another bar to stare at. Wall running on the train is cool, although it can be hard to hear it coming, so it can totally sneak up on you and knock you off the tracks. I spent so long trying to tag this wall that I gave up because it was such a pain in the ass to grind all the way back. I think all this level needed was a little more complexity. A few other secret paths would have kicked ass, without necessarily overwhelming a new player, and even rewarding them for exploring and finding all the little hidden prizes in the level, which is one of the cooler aspects of the semi-open world design. A problem I had writing this script is my main critique seemed to stem from the fact that the game's too easy, when really, it's more like it's not designed for 2,000-hour Steam goblins in the first place. So really, all I'm asking for is another way across the tracks, and Versum would immediately earn my badass seal of approval. After throwing down with the Franks, we get the cops called on us, so our brothers in Resurrection decide to cheese it, and we give chase.
Well.
Oh, he's ginger? So that's why he's obsessed with basketball and wants to be called the Flesh Prince. I'm actually a big fan of his design. He's one of the more charming characters in the game based on appearance alone. He reminds me a lot of Myron from Fallout 2 with the whole pizza-faced boy genius thing he has going on.
So, you finally came around, huh, beautiful? Ooh, you got a name to go with those legs, beautiful? Want some drugs to break the ice, or should we just get down to some mattress dancing?
Alright already! Don't come in your pants, Neutron. Bell complained about it online. You'll have to post a 10-paragraph response to your subreddit. He refuses to spill on the DJ, and one of his goons is all... Puerto Rico? Haven't they had enough taken from them already without you stealing their limbs? Belle wants us to follow her into this alley, presumably to get away from Freckles here before he makes an off-color pun about wanting to be the Fresh Prince of Belle's areola, and she shows us this shit.
Yeah.
Red's all fired up to kick this scrawny twerp in the dick, but before we can do that, we get trapped by the cops. So here's the thing. I don't like this game's combat. It's a series of mashing the buttons until your victim stops getting back up. There's basically no variation, with the exception of some unique enemies who are more annoying to fight than anything. But again and again will you be thrown in these arenas where you can't proceed until you've killed every cop in sight. And there'll be dozens of them, plus whatever mini-boss is gating your progress. Whatever happened to being a hooligan on rollerblades? It's not like fighting is better than fleeing. And bobbing and weaving through the cops is more fun anyway, so what's the point? Whenever the Big So shows up with her posse, I'm like, great, time to get tased. But this fight in particular is especially egregious because it doesn't even advance the story. All that happens now is this Zomba gets intimidated by Red when he does that stupid little flinch at him. It's not even that it's a hard fight, it's that it's boring. First you knock her out of her gyrocopter, then you fly into her 3 times, then you fly into her 6 times, but she has a big gun. Fuck you. Fuck these cops. But you know what? It doesn't even matter. Because now it's time for the best part of the whole mission. The who?
My name is Boomba and I like it here. If you want me to stay there.
Somebody must be playing one of those videos on speaker with like, you know, some young black guy listening to Queen for the first time. Because these 3 old coots get summoned out of the ether to judge our street skills. This is the best part of the level by far. We're on the clock with one goal, and that's beating the Franks' high score on their own turf. And when that music kicks in...
Ready? Go!
There's no arbitrary limits or boundaries. You can go to any part of the level you want, and rack up points based on your own radical skill. The only real problem I have is the game goes way too easy on you. That's the first level, fair enough, but this is the exit exam that proves I'm badass enough for the rest of the game, and... well, you got eyes, you can see this shit. I play like a scrub. Part of the problem here is that, unlike in Jet Set Radio, tagging isn't essential for beating the challenge. Because in that game, you're hopping around the whole level, tagging as much shit as you can as fast as possible to increase your score. But in Bomb Rush, there's nothing at all to push you out of your comfort zone, and you could totally stay in the same spot and grind for points. It was only until a very last crew battle where that stopped being viable. Despite skating like a guy with cerebral palsy, oh, what the fuck, he's actually really good at it. Wow. I'm an asshole. The Grand Bangers declare us the winners, and I love these victory mocaps. Red is all cocky and rubbing it in, Bell is super giddy and bounces around, while Trice is more reserved, but still excited even if he doesn't want to show it too much. The Franks are being sore losers, and the Flesh Prince of Stale Air still won't tell us how to contact the DJ. We're about a few charged words away from making national headlines when Red notices we're surrounded. The fuck is that thing? Yeah man, I skate. I totally shred in my Honda CRX. The DJ immediately starts barking orders. For breaking the code of the street, the Franks forfeit their whole territory to the Bomb Rush crew. Trice tries to leverage the code of the street against the DJ, reminding him that decapitation is not hip. It, completely backfires. Red takes a shot at the DJ, but he gets nabbed by a single skinny chick. And Red looks at the DJ all like, damn, you got me. Come on, Red. Girls don't have muscles. Just throw her. So he lets the DJ shove him into this brain melter contraption without an ounce of resistance, and now we're in purgatory. I better get on my board. This is cool. It's like some shit out of Silent Hill. Oh no, those people are real. Sorry guys, I thought it'd be a badass place to do an ollie. The DJ shows up to explain that like human minds, our machine brain can only dream up what we've actually experienced in the real world. So whatever's going on must have something to do with our actual past. In far too many games, dream sequences consist of monotonously wandering linear corridors while disembodied voices explain the plot to you, but not in Bomb Rush. Instead, we get this huge, abstract obstacle course with a psychedelic abyss to plunge into if we mess up. It strikes me as an excuse for the level designers to experiment with very few limitations, and they ended up with some really neat results. At the end, we see Bell and Trice haunted at the edge of our vision by Foe. We come face to face as he shoves us into the void. We wake up in the real world, and I guess the DJ must have us all figured out because he tells us we're only going to see the head of Foe if we can go all city before he does, right before he fucks off in his skate tank. Back at the hideout, the gang palavers over the confrontation with the DJ. Red's not intimidated. He refuses to stray from his goal of learning his roots. I like his characterization here. He's a robot who's been thrust into the land of the living with no real reason to live, and he thinks maybe he can find one somewhere in his murky past. Trice explains the DJ was part of the baddest graffiti crew in the city, called the Big Three, the other members being Foe and a guy named Felix, the latter having since been whacked by a rival banger. The DJ remained the best in the whole city, virtually uncontested by the small-time gangs until now, because he decapitated the Red. You don't look too good. You got a blue screen or something? You got McAfee installed?
I see.
Oh, I'm sorry, Irene. He didn't even take an extra second to think about it. He probably just wanted to hear somebody agree with him. Fucking insecure prick. Next up is Millennium Square. It's a beautiful map for sure, but what really does it for me is all the little nooks and crannies to snoop out. It's a decently vertical map with all kinds of shit tucked away on the roofs and in buildings. As a level for skating around in, I don't know. There's way too much open ground, so if you don't have extra boost, you gotta deal with it. The edges of the maps have a lot more places to grind and do tricks, but it still feels kind of underdeveloped. The entire plaza could have used these things scattered around it, making it much more interesting to cross, because otherwise you're just barreling through it to get to the rest of the level. Before we move on, I gotta complain about one more thing. When you land on a flight of stairs in this game, it automatically kicks you off your ride. You can't re-equip it until you're on flat ground, and it's such a fuck you. Because you can't always avoid the stairs, and I'm forced to watch 2 separate animations before I can get back to playing the game. And I know this is some nitpicky shit, so I'll say this last thing before I shut up about it forever. But if your character isn't running at top speed, he'll stop in place to do this 2-second long equip animation, and it pisses me off every time. I don't keep drawing that cum face on purpose, okay? Just happens. We pissed off the local crew, the Eclipse Girls. They won't talk to any swinging dicks, so we swapped a Belle for this one. And they totally dunk on her for only having moids for friends before they skate away to the next level. Brink Terminal is a lot of fun. It's huge and dense with opportunities for tricks and all kinds of secrets and shit tucked away. It was also the first level that posed an actual challenge. Watch me blow 20 minutes trying to get this tag. It feels a lot more like a classic Jet Set level than anything I've played so far, but I do have one problem with it. The whole level has this ugly green draped over it, and it looks terrible. The other 2 levels also had uniform color palettes. Versum Hill is warm and orange, while Millennium Square is very cold. But the problem with Brink Terminal is that the green is really unappealing. Unless it's in nature, green usually signifies disease, pestilence, rot, all that rancid shit. It doesn't seem natural for an urban environment to look this green unless it's covered in some nasty pollution, which doesn't seem to be what they were going for. Brink Terminal is the closest map to the coast, so maybe they were trying to invoke feelings of the sea brushing up against the city. Whatever the case, shit is ugly. After tearing up the terminal, the Eclipse crew returned to issue a challenge. This is also where the game teaches you about leaning into corners for a points multiplier. I love this mechanic. It's simple, gives you a speed boost, and you have to be careful to time it correctly because you can't do a trick and lean into a corner at the same time. That little extra bit of depth adds a lot to the flow of gameplay. They want us to do a 3x combo down these stairs. Oh, fucking what now? Oh shit. Oh my god, they're back together. Yes! Yes! Oh my god, yes! For the last challenge, she wants us to beat her high score, which is the best kind of challenge by far. You can go anywhere in the level, grind however you want, no bullshit, it's great. We kick her ass and now all the ladies are on the run, and they ditch us right as the cops arrive.
Roger.
Oh my god, Red. You just don't give a shit, do you? He must have been real deep in thought, thinking about the JFK assassination or something. Well, it could have been the CIA. No, probably not. This boss fight, pretty mediocre. Video game boss fights with snipers are almost universally boring, because it's always the same old shit. Dodge a bullet every 30 seconds, find the guy and give him a wedgie. And it's the same here. You do that shit 4 times before we finally do him in. Before we can bust his motherboard open, he eschews our mission of learning our past, saying that we are the actions we take and our roots don't mean shit. Then he complains we don't even carry guns like a bunch of liberals before disappearing. We'll talk more about this character later because I definitely have some issues with him. But by beating the shit out of a Special Forces sniper team, we've finally impressed the Eclipses enough to be allowed an audience. I love the climb to the top of this tower. It's not particularly difficult, but the ascent is fun and you get to see the entire level from the top. What the hell, Trice? Too cool to stand with your own crew? As if challenging these gangs wasn't your idea? Maybe he's just weird around girls. He laughs too hard at their jokes, tries to come off as all sensitive, pretends to like the White Lotus. Belle doesn't count. She's into boy things like David Foster Wallace and semen retention. Yeah, this isn't the insult they think it is. Red's mom is probably a pair of couch cushions or a Pringles can or something. Boompa shows up again to judge our showdown against the Eclipse crew, and we tarnish them. Again, this game's not that hard. It's more so the music and seeing your guys and the rival gang skate along with you that really makes these battles. Fuck was that shit? It's not even nighttime. Red steps up to officially claim the terminal as Bomb Rush turf when he has another aneurysm. This dream sequence goes hard in particular. Check that out. That's like some Katamari Damacy shit.
We love Katamari.
Oh, fucking shut the fuck up. I'm trying to do a review.
They could have remastered The Saboteur right now.
That's because the world is on fire, asshole. No one's in the mood for Spec Ops The Line. Oh, a third mysterious guy. For a game about skating around and tagging shit, the plot gets decently complicated. It honestly reminds me of some classic punk movies, which I totally fuck with. Speaking of punk, remember that this game takes place in a militarized police state? The Star Wars Bounty Hunter reject has some hang-ups about using lethal force on a gang of delinquents, and the police chief totally ignores him so he can show off his new toy. This game spends no small amount of time fleshing out the Orwellian nightmare aspects of its world, but 90% of the time, it's not even relevant to the actual plot. To be fair, Jet Set Radio is also guilty of this. Even though you're dodging batons and tasers, the actual plot of that game was about a record that summons the devil. The punk anti-establishment themes have very little to do with the story of the main characters. It's not like this is a big deal or anything. I don't expect the spiritual successor to a game about teenagers who ground helicopter gunships with spray paint to take itself all seriously. It more so seems like a waste of effort, designing and writing all these characters who end up disappearing by the end. The story ends up rather bloated, which feels wrong for a game whose design is so tight everywhere else. Next on the chopping block is the .exe crew. They're by far my favorite character design in the whole game. I love the tracksuits, and the 8-ball theme kicks ass. I also like the idea of a gang of hoodlums who are obsessed with transhumanism only so far as it makes them better at breakdancing. We head back to Millennium where we find the .exe moved in and painted over some of our tags. I love that little detail. It goes a long way to making the main characters feel like another crew instead of an unstoppable graffiti force. This is also where we meet my second favorite character design. The cops are about to arrest him for not paying tithe to the Uber Lyft conglomerate. Then they racially profile us like instantly. We thin out the blue line a bit, and our new friend gives us thanks by offering to drive us to any level in the game. He also calls us Chief, as a term of endearment. It's shit like this that makes me love this game. There's no reason for the devs to have put this much effort into what easily could have been a menu other than pure love of the craft. If BRC was made by $1 billion studio, you'd have to unlock Benny in the Battle Pass, and if you pre-ordered, you get the sexy leg skin that took some Indian guy working crunch time half an hour to throw together. We head to the mall and we bump into this guy again.
Nah.
This section of the mall is great. It's as dense as Brink Terminal, but much more vertical. It makes skating and pulling off sick shit a blast. There's also some extra platforming elements you won't find in other levels, a lot of which lead to secrets. Oh, I'm glad Red remembered, because I had completely forgotten she was there by that point. I don't particularly care for this character. She has an extra dimension to her that gets revealed later, but honestly, she could be cut from the game and the plot would basically be intact. Other characters too feel tangential despite how much cutscene and dialogue time they get. Some of them are okay though. Like Solace is obviously a gag character, with his goofy design and eccentric personality, but then there's Vinyl and Escher who are just boring. Anyway, we follow her up to this fountain where she tells us the .exe guys are deeper in the mall, and in order to get there we gotta sneak into the warehouse and open the door ourselves. That's awesome. Looks like something that would cost $500 on the community market. We press the button and get all good and ready to meet these cyber pricks on their home turf, and holy shit! How many times are you gonna stop me dead in my tracks and tell me some bullshit I already know? You and your dorky jumpsuit that goes all the way to your chin. Vinyl will only tell us about Foe once we forcibly remove the .exe from their native land, so we get right on that. Look at this level. You see the problem here. All the fun to be had is at the very outer edges of the map. You want to avoid the ground floor like it's lava, especially when you're doing the challenges that require a high score. I don't know why you design a level for a skating game like this, unless the point was to punish you from falling from the higher floors. Maybe that's what's going on here? It's a shame because we're coming from the entrance to the mall, which was sick from top to bottom, to keeping all the interesting design at the top. There is a food court here at least, where you can buy a $20 cinnamon roll and for another $1 you can get some Oreo cookie flakes. The cooler part of the level is high-fiving all the robot guys, which can be a real pain in the ass, but feels awesome when you finally chain them all together. They also put the graffiti in some badass spots only the real OGs can tag. This dickhead wants us to do a 50-trick combo. I was confused at first since the challenge resets if you try to leave, but the game actually forgot to tell you it has to be a manual. That's not particularly interesting or challenging. Then we gotta get a high score of 100,000 before the time runs out. You know I love this shit. I guess the .exe are the kind of guys who drink Black Rifle coffee while listening to the police scanner, because they all fuck off right before the fuzz shows up to wreck our shit. No big deal. We've messed up enough cops to— oh shit! I immediately get the fuck out of there. But after like 5 minutes of running away, I realized the game actually wanted me to fight the cops. With guns. I got a can of spray paint and the game wants me to go all guerrilla warrior. I'm not Che Guevara. I drink lattes and listen to musicals. I do not understand this game's emphasis on combat. It's not hard. It's not fun either. When you're confronted by cops, you either boost into them or you mash the trick buttons until they go down. Those are your options. Jet Set Radio didn't have this issue because you weren't expected to fight the cops at all. They were another obstacle you either had to avoid or overcome with mechanics you've been mastering the whole game. They never put your progress on pause so you could get revenge on Derek Chauvin. It's a damn shame because right after this, we get a boss that's fun to fight because it's actually designed around being nimble on skates and tagging shit. You know, what you bought the game for? In an interview with the main dev, he talked about shying away from turning the main characters into activists because that's not what the game was supposed to be about. There's definitely some social commentary, but the true focus of the game was the protagonist navigating and overcoming the world as it exists, and the police having to stand in his way due to the nature of his goals. And that being the case, I cannot for the life of me understand why they insist the player fight all these cops. I'm a skater, wouldn't I try to roll out of there? We meet up with the .exe and this time there's no delay. We smoke them and they get all pissy and say some ominous shit about how the police are gonna fuck us at Project Algo, the sponsor of today's video. Somebody know too much? Saying inflammatory things.
I am black. I am gay.
With Project Algo, cut the brakes on their Tesla and watch all your problems disappear in a terrible tragedy. Automatically broadcast your mourning and regret in a tweet generated by AI, tailored exactly to your public persona.
I am disabled. I am a woman.
Belle's excited now that we're just 2 boroughs away from All City. Then What's-Her-Name shows up to give us the slow clap, like we're supposed to be embarrassed that we're already the 3rd best graffiti gang in the city. She's finally ready to tell us that secret from earlier about our cyberhead, when the boss of the .exe is fucking assassinated. And this is so traumatic that Red has another seizure. Oh, I like this. We get confronted by EXE's ghost, and he asks if we intercepted any signals related to his murder. And we admit we don't actually have the code to activate the radio, since the previous owner lost the manual. So to turn off the anti-theft, we'd have to call the manufacturer and give them the VIN. And it's such a pain in the ass. Just listen to Boomer Rock and Spanish talk shows. Holy shit, more combat? We storm the beach like this is Saving Private Hawk, and it's nothing but foot soldiers and snipers. The most mindless enemies to fight in the whole game. The only redeemable thing about it is it didn't take too long to get through them all, but at that point, why bother? Oh, Mystery Man again. We try to get a name out of him, and he tells us to shut the fuck up, I'm tagging. We make eye contact with Foe again before returning to consciousness. We also get a little backstory on the police chief, whose motivations are that he basically...
You dirty boy! Come on, erase it, you little dirty boy! Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I understand. I need to draw genitals.
Oh my god, I can never get away from this lady. And if we tell her to go kick rocks, she's gonna hold the plot hostage. I hate her so much. She has the same sense of style as DJ Lance Rock. Oh shit, remember this guy? Well, it's the last time you're gonna see him. He caps Red in the dome and Vinyl actually kills him. You think I'm joking, but no. This is the last time he's in the game. She battered him to death with a skateboard. What a pussy. Red took a bullet, but not only is he alive, he's a guy. And he got shot in the skull. The bullet is in his brain. We gotta get him to a hospital. Belle suggests we take him to the Flesh Prince, and finding him is such a fucking hassle. First we interrogate the last Frank in Versum Hill, and he tells us to try Millennium Square. Then another guy tells us no, the Flesh Prince went to Brink Terminal. So we hitch a ride out that way, and the next guy tells us he was in Matan the whole time. Are you sure? Maybe he's at the mall. Maybe he's home, pretending to be black on the internet. Want me to check there too? This is bullshit and you know it. It's the most basic level of padding possible. There's no reason the game couldn't have sent me straight to the prince. I guess he's supposed to be hiding from Project Algo, but it's not like the police assassins are terribly competent or anything. Well, it's a good thing he's in Matan, the final borough of the game, because they do save the best for last. We only get access to the first half of the level, but it's decently large, looks gorgeous, and there's some particularly cool movement puzzles to solve for secrets. We tell the Flesh Prince Red's called out sick with a ventilating skull, and he agrees to help right away. No negotiating or nothing. Oh, nobody sit on that couch. The prince explains, yeah, Red was never a robot, only some discarded brain jar he had lying around. Red's freaking out because we finally know the identity of the mysterious dude in his dreams, which also means we were offed by goddamn Foe. Anything more than that, nobody can tell us. All Vinyl's willing to give away is that we gotta go all city and fuck up the DJ to reveal our missing memories. Next up is the Devil Theory, some crooked criminal types dealing in shady stuff. But before we can head out to the pyramid, I realize this game's halfway over, and I haven't unlocked any new characters. It's not a big deal if you miss out on the optional unlocks. With one exception, I didn't find them all that interesting. I actually encountered this first girl, Rave, way back at the beginning of the game, but I had managed to completely miss the last part of her mission where you actually recruit her. There's Shine, who wants you to chase her across the whole game before she'll join, and one more in the terminal named Mesh. Here's the thing, Jet Set Radio is some of my favorite looking characters in any game. All of them have so much swag, with only a couple exceptions. They're goofy and stylized, but still relatable. The characters in Bomb Rush look better by a wide margin. They still don't do it for me like the old JSR designs. The problem is they're either too stylized, in the cases of Vinyl and Solace, or they're too relatable, like with Trice. Look at them. It's like they stepped out of the office for a smoke, saw some guy waiting for the bus and thought, hey, let's put him in the game. Even Beat, the most generic teenage protagonist in the history of video games, has these funky shades and big blocky headphones. It gives him a real personality. Whereas Trice just looks like some frat bro got caught out in the cold. This might be more of a personal gripe than a criticism. I just love JSR's characters, and I'm still waiting for somebody to come along and do them justice in a new game. Although BRC certainly comes closer than any game I've played. Mesh might be one of my favorites. I love his big shirt, his stupid visor, and his incessant shit-eating grin. That's the kind of grin you give the Make-A-Wish kid when you have to tell him, sorry buddy, but Tony Hawk couldn't make it this time. He's had a bit of an accident. But don't you worry. We got somebody even better. Okay. Who is it? We head out to the docks and set sail for the Pyramid, the second best level in the game. I don't find the level that appealing visually, but I do love the Devil Theory guys. Samurai Oni rollerbladers taking over an oil rig is the coolest shit. They also have the weakest challenges out of all the other gangs. This weed bets us we can't do 3 quarter pipes in one combo. And then I do it. He acts all impressed like I haven't been playing this game for 6 hours already. To be fair, it may be a joke on the game's part, that these guys are so bad at skating the only reason they haven't had their shit taken by another gang is their association with the cops. Or maybe the devs were just running out of steam. We confront their posse, and they say a bunch of shit about DJ Cyber we already know, before Jeeves, Margaret, and Jenkins show up and tell us to quit being pussies and have a goddamn street battle. This one actually almost got me, but we managed to catch up and secure the pyramid for ourselves. And then these losers stroll away saying some cryptic shit before diving into the water. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. Shut up, dude. You listen to alpha male affirmations. Oh, Solace, what were you doing in there?
Nah.
Vinyl gets herself kidnapped by the DJ, who's in the middle of tying up loose ends, and Red challenges him to a fair and square 1v1. And the DJ says, okay. I don't know how else to say this. This boss is absurdly shitty. I know that sounds mean, and it's not like Jet Set Radio is remembered for its gripping boss fights or anything, but holy shit, this one is rough. You chase the DJ in circles over and over until he arbitrarily decides to expose himself and throw copies of the pod at you. And at no point in the game, even during the boss fight, does it teach you to do this. But you're supposed to deflect the records back at him in order to inflict damage. Fucking why? A good boss fight is supposed to test you on the mechanics you've been mastering all game long. So why have me learn new shit just for this boss? You're never expected to deflect a projectile anywhere else in the whole game. And chasing the DJ feels shitty because I'm not doing anything other than waiting for him to turn around while I bump into his landmines, which are more tedious than anything. It sucks because the game's momentum comes to a screeching halt for no good reason. Oh shit, he's black? Ah! That's another dream sequence. No critical feedback on this one. The dreams in this game are almost always a blast. Looking the DJ in the eye seems to have awoken something in Red. Now he finally remembers that he is Felix, the sickest writer since that brat fetishist. Or that guy who trafficked a 14-year-old girl into Mexico for sex. They tell us it was actually a ruse the whole time, and Vinyl was in on it. The whole game long they've been trying to restore Red's memories of being Felix, which is why they had to stage a hostage situation and attempt to assassinate us. We only have one last target to hit, and that's Futurism's home turf, Matan, the best level in the game, at least aesthetically. I love looking at it. It's got some fun gimmicks too, like these moving platforms, though they're pretty underutilized. We carve up the district, fucking up the Futures on their home turf, jocking their tags, slapping the hose. Then it's time for the final battle and all that's left between us and All City. And we fucking lost? Yeah, this is the one crew battle you can't cheese by spinning in circles with your thumb up your ass. We do much better in our second attempt. But we still don't have our memories. There's one last step, and that's to strap ourselves into the DJ's sensory deprivation tank for one last visit with the Clockwork Elves. Now these aren't elves.
I saw them with some birds.
Hey, we got our body back. This is my favorite hallucination by far. This game sure loves its sickly greens though. Too many levels in this game share a color palette with Fallout 3. The DJ has something to show us, and Solace is here too? Get the fuck out of my head, you're gonna calcify my penile gland.
All City King.
Huh?
Now that we know the truth, it's time to fuck up Foe. While he may be more machine than man now, he still has a brain with emotions and impulses, and that means we can draw him out. Thankfully, we don't have to, because here he comes lumbering onto the scene. So Foe couldn't stand being beaten out for All City by a guy who looks like he sects high schoolers when he isn't posting pictures of himself busking in Old Town. Now his plan is to wipe out the competition by massacring every writer in the city. You know, because everyone's pulling up to the Olympics to see the same guy by himself get gold over and over. Same shit, different fart. I don't actually have a problem with the game reusing bosses, though it could use a unique twist to it other than swarms of the two least interesting enemies everywhere. We knock him over easily. The BRC gang thinks that's the end of it when
The ancient serpent has come. It is the end times. The adversary of mankind.
the design for his final form goes so hard for no reason. It's almost something out of a different game entirely. The god of this world rides in and pulls our head off. Then he steals away with Solace into the city. And, we're basically fucked. We've lost our body for the second time now. And of course we completely forgot to tell anybody about Foe's secret weakness. So yeah, he's won. We're done for. Except here comes the notorious PIG. Cherie attaches us to our old body, and though it's a lot harder to skate with 3 legs, we enter a short chase and confront the creeping Leviathan in this random circular arrangement of pylons and power cables. This is easily the coolest and most satisfying of all the bosses. It's a real escalation of all the challenges you faced up until this point, being entirely a movement puzzle where you jump from rail to rail, dodging artillery and drones like it's Yemen. It's a great time. Though it can be a little finicky trying to land on his arms when he's constantly shifting around. Thankfully, it seems the magneticism has been increased a bit for this section, which helps with the moving target and the fixed camera. When we've whittled him down to the brink of life, Felix confronts Foe about his darkest secret. Foe is a total poser.
Huh?
Yeah.
Bomb Rush Cyberfunk fucking rocks. The gameplay is rock solid. The levels are gorgeous and fun to play. Even just skating around and doing tricks is a blast. My issues mostly come from the thematics and general design flaws. Seriously? Fuck this boss fight. I still don't know what they were thinking. And the story too leaves a lot to be desired for me. It's not a big deal or anything. The story is meant to justify and support the gameplay. The problems aren't so big it's gonna bother too many people playing it to relax and skate around, but I'm a smarmy critic on the internet. You knew this was coming. Stay in your goddamn seat. The presentation rules. Cinematically, everything looks great. The characters in general are very charming and give off a lot of personality. The dialogue is very tight, and cutscenes never stall. But the overall plot is really weak in my opinion. The big twist that Red isn't a cyberhead doesn't really do it for me. The game's thematic core seems to be that even if you can't change where you come from, you should still own your origins regardless of how ugly they are. But what is there to own here? If Red ended up keeping Foe's body, you'd have a point. Foe is a real pussy. But he doesn't. He gets his old body back free of charge. And Felix is cool as fuck. He doesn't have any baggage that makes his roots something to be ashamed of like Foe. He's the sickest writer in the city. He doesn't have anything to hide. If Red had been a true cyberhead with Felix suppressed memories, like all the other cyberheads we encounter, and Felix was a real asshole or something, then the plotline of Red coming to grips with his roots would have been more thematically consistent, and make for a more satisfying story in general. Cause the way it is now, it's like you're LeBron James, and you get amnesia, only to find out you're LeBron James. You'd probably be all like, okay, I'll be LeBron James, that's cool. I talked about the militarized police and certain characters being half-baked. Escher is ultimately a redundant character, but now even more so since Red isn't even a robot. All that fucking "we are not our roots" talk was pointless. His whole arc means nothing. Irene, too, only has one standout moment in the plot. Other than that, she's a punching bag. They should have gotten rid of the redhead and have Escher fill a role in the story, so that when he turns coat, it's actually cool and surprising. He has way more potential as an anti-hero than she does. She doesn't even have a belief about the game's main theme, or at least she never mentions it anywhere. I know I'm getting all worked up over the plot of the graffiti game as if that was ever the priority, but even though the design is airtight in just about every other aspect, having this bloated story with all these characters that don't add anything, it takes it down a notch. Like I said, nobody's gonna leave BRC feeling disappointed or that they wasted their time because the story is mediocre, but it is a very palpable flaw that hurts the game overall. Honestly, my problems with Bomb Rush are pretty transient, and if they don't deter you from buying it, then fuck yeah, go right ahead. It's a blast to play, and much like its inspiration, the passion and love poured into its making is apparent everywhere. So many little details and features that weren't necessary or could have easily been phoned in are lovingly handcrafted to be essential pieces of the aesthetic. All the playable characters, optional areas, and secrets, even inconsequential stuff like how you unlock a new dance style for every gang you defeat. I like this one a lot. Reminds me of how I dance in real life. Team Reptile knocked it out of the fucking park, and if I piqued your interest even a little, go and pick up a copy. Cause ain't nothing else coming this close to beating Jet Set Radio to its own game. At least maybe until Sega gets its shit together, but we'll see.
Well, my retarded friend, we've been introduced, so why don't you get the hell out of here now?